Hi friends, I wanted to come on here today and do something a little bit more impromptu. I've been feeling guided a little bit more to kind of share a little bit more off the cuff. So normally I would like write a script and have it on a teleprompter and read it, but um, been getting the guidance to not do that because every time I try to do that, I get like a block. So this is going to be a little bit different, so bear with me. I'm kind of just going with the flow here. I wanted to come on here and share something with you guys about hope. So I know that right now, especially here in the US, there's a lot of people who are feeling really hopeless. Um, and there's some people who are feeling, hopeful as well. But I mean, as you could probably guess, I'm in the hopeless camp. It's been a rough few days here, and I'm all about staying in personal power, staying in love, staying out of fear. That's has been my message forever. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. It is hard, and it has been hard. I wanted to, you know, be a little bit vulnerable and share with you guys just something that this is bringing up for me personally, which is it's really bringing me back to the very almost at the end of the first year of the pandemic. So it was like right around Christmas. My family celebrates Christmas, the first Christmas after the pandemic started, and it was the first Christmas that I had not spent with my family. I think maybe there was one when I was traveling one year, but like besides that, it was like the first Christmas I had spent, with friends, great friends, and it was a lovely holiday, but couldn't risk exposing my family to the virus. And I know a lot of people were in that situation as well, just sort of struggling with loneliness and uncertainty and not knowing when it would end and feeling really hopeless. And that was around the time for me, and I know around the time for a lot of people when I started really tapping into my spirituality, tapping into my connection to the divine, being able to start channeling, being able to recognize synchronicities when they came up. And one thing that really got me through that time, I remember, was community. And if you live in New York City or were in New York City during that time, you'll know, as I was, you'll know that every night around 7 p.m. we would all come out to our doorsteps and like clap for the essential workers who were just on the front lines of the pandemic, out there every day. The rest of us had the privilege to be able to, work at home from our laptops. And these were men and women and people who were out there putting themselves at risk to keep the city going. So, we owed them a lot more than that, but that was sort of our way of saying thank you. Every night at 7 o'clock we went out, we clapped. Oftentimes we would get like pots and pans and like bang on the pots and pans. And then it sort of like weirdly morphed into this sort of community hour. That's my cat, Earl. He wants to come say hi. Hi, Earl. You want to say hi? Okay. It weirdly morphed into this community hour where people would, if they were musicians, they would go out on their porches and like bring their karaoke machine and just, have a little concert. And we would all just kind of be able to be together but outside, so separated enough. And I just remember that time and my friends and hanging out in the park in the freezing ass cold, 6 feet away from each other. Somebody would light a bonfire, and if somebody could play a guitar, they would play a guitar, and if somebody could bake a sourdough starter, they would bring their sourdough. And we were just kind of like all in this weird amorphous place where we had no idea where this was going to land, but we were all just trying to be together in community somehow. So that to me is Aquarius, right? Like, so let me explain. So Aquarius is all about hope in my mind. It's the star card in tarot. It's got a very weird tension between the individual and the collective, because it's about, that somebody who wants to be weird and wacky in their own individual self, somebody who's not afraid to be on the outskirts and the margins of society, and yet how can we fit all of our individual weird and wacky selves together into a collective in order to really make change. To me, that's what hope is about. That's what Aquarius is about. Um, it's not something that we don't participate in. It's something that we very much do participate in. We have to take that journey to meet our true selves, to know our true skills, our true authenticity, in order to contribute that to the collective. Because if we're contributing to the collective from a space of ego or false self, like, oh, I'm good at, finance, but that I'm only good at finance because I've been told since I was a child that that's what I needed to be good at to make money and succeed in society. And then I just move forward into the collective with that false self. That leads to 2008 financial crisis, right? It was a house of cards. Obviously a lot of other issues led to that as well, but you know what I'm talking about. Pluto actually moved into Capricorn for the first time in 2008. And now it's moving into Aquarius. And we have a chance to come at the collective from a place of our authentic self. So if you're a musician, if you're a writer, if you are a carpenter, if you are a beekeeper, I think one amazing thing about the pandemic was that we were all able to meet our true selves because we didn't have our ego selves available anymore. We had to live with just sort of like the rawness of who we are without all of the false trappings of what society had been telling us our whole lives that we were. So, for me, I wound up quitting my job as, a national news reporter, which had a whole lot of ego and, false selfness attached to that. And I said, well, what do I want to do now? Who am I now? And that's still a process that is unfolding, still very much like meeting who I am now. But spirituality is always a big part of that and has been since about, on and off since I was a kid, but in essence, in overdrive since the pandemic. So we have Pluto. Moving into Aquarius. And it's been in Capricorn since 2008. Capricorn is the sign of top-down structure, government, rules, society. Everything that society tells you need to be. Aquarius is the sign of, visionary, hope, future, the individual, but the weird, wacky individual, the person who is going to show up as an artist, as their true selves. And then, when we all do that, then that's really the strong collective. That's the collective we really want to build. That's the new earth. So that's why I have hope, even as I'm seeing all of these structures crumble around me. I know that it's Pluto's job to crumble and dismantle these structures that were based on the false ego self, on, neoliberalism, capitalism, colonialism. All of these structures have been on the way up for a long time, but now they are really starting to crumble. And from that, the power is now moving to the people, which is Aquarius. And we literally only have, I think, less than 2 weeks before Pluto moves into Aquarius, for good for another, I think it's still 2043. It's a long ass time. And it's not going to come back to Capricorn. In our lifetimes, it's not coming back to Capricorn for another 250 years. Not to mention it's in the USA Pluto return, meaning Pluto is around the same point where Pluto was when the US was born, meaning shit's hitting the fan, as you can see. So what I want to say is that don't put power outside of yourself. Pluto is all about life, death, rebirth, transformation, and that's what it's doing, and you gotta let it do its job. But when you take your power back, that's when the magic happens. That's when you are really able to contribute to a collective that we all want to be a part of, because it's based on all of our own authentic selves, not our false selves. Aquarius is probably one of my favorite signs for that reason. And the astrology is saying it's going to be insane for a little bit, but if we can just center ourselves, take our power back, don't put your power in structures outside yourself because they're crumbling. They're crumbling. Okay? Once you can just kind of get that perspective, it makes it a lot easier to say, okay, well, how can I then structure my life so that it's built around my own personal power. I'm gonna, I think, share on the post section. It's a personal essay that I wrote about Aquarius and hope and my sort of personal journey, sort of with my ego death, with my false self kind of crumbling, and me sort of going on this journey of leaving my job, going into freelance writing, exploring spirituality. It's hard for people to understand. That's not really that important to me, frankly. I don't really care about that. But I think a lot of people do run into that. They worry about what people are going to think about them when they meet their own true authentic selves. And I'm here to tell you, worry about what you think. Worry about your happiness. Worry about your power. Don't worry about what other people think. And I know that seems maybe obvious, but sometimes people just need to hear that, need that little permission. Don't worry about other people. You do you. Anyway, I'm going to share this personal essay that I wrote. So this is, again, it's about that Christmas, the first Christmas after the pandemic. And it's about Aquarius and hope and authenticity and spirit, being connected to spirit and feeling that guidance and knowing that things are going to be okay, guys. Things are going to be okay. I know it. I can feel it. I hope you can too, even though it's really hard out there right now. Okay, guys. Love you. Blessed be.